My full name is Gary Cattell, and people know me as the Willard Preacher. The name of Willard Preacher came about because the person before me broke up. Everybody knew his name. I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but everybody knew his name. But when I started, nobody knew my name. And since I preach in front of the Willard building, the natural thing for them, since they didn't know my name, was just to refer to me as the Willard Preacher. And that's kind of stuck over the years. So like I said, I made use of it, you know. So the website is thewillardpreacher.com, and then Facebook is Willard Preacher. I have an email, the willardpreacher at comcast.net. So I figured if everybody, you know, knows me by that, I'll just make use of it. Well, my educational background is, I guess, a little over 2 years of college. I wasn't real serious when I went to college and never finished up. But I was studying along the lines of counselor education, that sort of thing. So before I started preaching, I was working with handicapped, you know, physically and mentally handicapped children and adults. My likes are, I like sports. I run, like to stay in shape, like to do yard work, that sort of thing, like to read. Yeah, I came to Penn State. I was at a branch campus, Barron, up in Erie, from fall of 1976 to spring of 77. And I came down to University Park. And I was here from fall of 77 to the spring of 79. But I wasn't real serious about school. I was doing a lot of partying and so on, and I decided to just drop out before I failed out. I grew up just outside of State College in a little town called Boalsburg, which is maybe 5 miles, maybe, outside of State College. But I went to elementary school in Boalsburg, came to State College for what was then called junior high school and high school. I had a good upbringing, had good parents. We didn't have any sort of religious upbringing. They just kind of left that up to us. My dad, I guess, was atheist agnostic. My mom, I think Episcopalian is what she was raised. But in bringing us up, we didn't really have a religious upbringing, so they kind of left it up to us. If we wanted to go to church with somebody, as my younger brother did, they were fine with that, and if we didn't, then they were fine with that. So they just kind of left all that sort of stuff up to us. I have a wife. She does, she homeschooled our kids, and she substitute teaches in the public schools. She also taught in kind of a homeschooling co-op sort of a thing. My oldest daughter, Rachel, is in England. She's married, and in England. She married somebody from Liverpool, and they're living over there now. The next one was Joshua. He's married and is living outside of London. He's in the Air Force stationed in Lakenheath, I think. The next daughter she's married also. She's in New Hampshire. And my youngest son is in school in Edinburgh. Well, I think I found God in August of 1982. It's kind of a journey from going into my senior year in high school, which was probably summer of 1974. I began to wonder why I existed and didn't know. Figured I have to, getting out of high school, got to do something with my life. First time I ever wondered, why do I exist? But I had no idea. But as time went on, I kind of realized the answer to that question lied in whether or not there was a God. So I began to wonder, how can I find out if there's a God or not? And so I realized I couldn't go about it in the negative. I couldn't show that there was no God. There was no reasoning that I could come up with to show there was no God. There was no experience I could have to show there was no God. So I figured I have to go about it in the positive. But then I realized even if I could study all the world religions, and know them all perfectly, the best I could do would be to choose the one I like the most, and I could still be wrong. So I eventually figured if I was going to know, the only way I could know is if God was willing to make it known to me. So in August of 1982, God finally fully, I think, enlightened me, and I knew for sure that it was the Christian God and that I needed to follow him. My whole life changed at that point. Well, in Christianity, the idea is to actually enter into some sort of relationship with God. And so he's not just a concept or just a belief. You actually have some sort of inter-relationship with him. And, you know, when I came to believe in God, then he basically became everything. You know, my entire life then revolved around him and the religion that he has revealed. Now I'm affiliated with the Orthodox Church, Holy Trinity Orthodox Church, which is in State College on Spark Street. I became Orthodox in 1992. So in August of 1982, I became Christian and was Protestant for a long time until I actually got into a conversation with an Orthodox undergrad and a Roman Catholic grad student. And I began to question Protestantism. And when I realized that Protestantism couldn't stand scrutiny, I began to look to see if there was a true Christian church, one that was there with the apostles in the beginning and is still here today and still believes the same and worships the same. And I came to believe that that was the Orthodox Church. And so spring of 1999, I became Orthodox. My wife is involved in the church. She became Orthodox when I did, and she's assistant choir director. I met my wife, it was really fall of 1982. I just started to preach. And she had just come down, she was at Penn State, she had just come down from Barron, where I had actually been a few years earlier. And we met through mutual friends. And we just became really good friends, hung out a lot. And as it progressed through the year, at some point we came to the realization that, you know, we either had to take this to the next level or just, you know, remain friends, and we had to figure out which way we wanted to go. So we both kind of prayed about it and we talked about it and stuff, and we decided that, you know, it was kind of a mutual decision, basically, and we were going to take it to the next level and get engaged, and we did. And we ended up then getting married in December of 1983. So we met probably in September of 1982, and were married by December of 1983. My daily schedule during the week is that I get up and I'll pray. So I get up early and pray. 3 days out of the week, I run. So when I'm done praying, I'll run. A couple days, the other days of the week, I might do some lifting of weights or something, just to kind of try and stay in shape, just real minor. And then I'll do some stretching and stuff, and then I'll get on the computer for a little bit, pray for a little bit more, come out to Willard, and be out here till usually at least somewhere around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Go home, maybe eat dinner, watch a little TV, maybe do a little reading or something, and go to bed. It's pretty much the average day. What I do at Penn State is I go out to in front of Willard Building 5 days a week and preach Orthodox Christianity. My ultimate goal is to try to show people that Christianity is the one true religion and Orthodox Christianity is a true expression of Christianity. But I also preach a lot about morals and the ideas of the culture that I think that students have bought into, which keep them, I think, from finding God. And whatever other subjects, might come up. Today there were some feminists out there talking about rape and so on. And so we got into a little discussion about blaming the victim and whether warning women not to jog the golf course at night was blaming the victim or not. So sometimes those things will happen. People will come out and engage in a subject or something. We'll have a debate or a discussion. And some days I'll just preach and nobody will stop by and I'll just kind of go home. I started preaching at Willard November 15th, 1982. And then just kept going since then. Yeah, there was somebody who was doing this before me by the name of Bro Cope, and we're still close friends. And he was, I used to talk to him a lot before I was Christian. He was instrumental in kind of pointing me in the direction of Christianity. And I used to go and listen to him preach. And he started in 1977. And he left probably 1984. So there was some overlap there. He would go on the road over the winter and preach at different campuses, and I would stay here. And he still comes out once in a while and preaches. He still goes on the road once in a while and preaches. But he also works and actually helps support our ministry. Well, I'm doing what I believe God has called me to do. Certainly, through the interactions with people, God can show me things in my life that I need to work on, things that aren't right yet, that I need to get right. And I like talking about these things with people, and I hope that maybe something I say God may be able to use to help somebody become a Christian or help somebody become Orthodox. Red sweatshirt. I like sweatshirts, and I always wore sweatshirts. And one year, I guess one must have been wearing out or something, and my parents gave me a red sweatshirt for either birthday or Christmas or something like that. And I began to wear it, and I began to be identified with it. And people would talk about, the preacher with a red sweatshirt or whatever, or the Willard Preacher with a red sweatshirt. And so I just figured, well, if that's a way that people are identifying me, then I'll just continue to wear a red sweatshirt. So when one wears out, you get another one. Continue to wear them. Well, I didn't actually choose Willard Building. Bro chose that. And it's a good place to go because everybody has class there at some point. It's a general classroom building. Everybody has class there at some point during their career. A lot of foot traffic on the sidewalk behind Willard or in front of Willard there. And there's natural places for people to sit, especially in the fall. A lot of people will sit out there, so I can kind of unfold ideas maybe a little bit better during that time. Windows are always shut because it's air conditioned and so on and heated, and so you're not bothering classes. Your voice kind of reverberates off the building, so you don't have to really strain your voice that much. So there's a lot of things about it that just make it a good place to go. I think most students really don't like what I do, and therefore don't really like me. I'm telling them stuff that, generally speaking, they don't want to hear. Things that I think are wrong with the way they think or what they do. Things that keep them from Christianity. And there's a small amount who do come by and they want to discuss things or debate things, and we get to know each other and become friends. Most probably don't care one way or the other, but certainly I get the impression that most would probably rather not have me there. And I've had a lot of terrible experiences with students. I've been slapped by a couple of women. One at least was a lesbian who didn't like what I was saying. Pushed around by a guy who didn't like what I was saying. But most of the time, that's only a few instances out of 30-something years. So most of the time, we can get into some pretty heated debates once in a while, but students are generally pretty civilized and good when they come to talk and debate. You know, most faculty members don't really stop by and talk at all. Have some pretty good conversations with a few who will come by once in a while and talk. I've had faculty members, one poli-sci teacher came out one day, or actually came out a few days, and really didn't like the fact that I was there, kind of made a big deal about the fact that he didn't like that I was there. And that happened a few times. I had a math professor that would come out, this was a number of years ago, and he would challenge me. Some grad students maybe will come out who are teaching. The one conversation or confrontation that I remember probably most was a number of years ago. An atheist came out, and when he first came out, he thought what I was doing was just the most humorous thing he's ever seen. And he was laughing and guffawing and making fun and so on. But he was a nice guy, actually, and we got to talk and so on. He actually, at some point, had a dream about going to hell. And it really shook him up. I guess it was very vivid. And he began to seek God after that and actually became Christian. A lot of people will say things as they walk by. Some will stop and talk or have a little conversation or debate and then never see them again. Some will come back regularly. I was just talking to a guy today who started coming by in his freshman year. Came by fairly regularly all through grad school, and now he teaches here. And he stopped by today to say hi and talk for a little while. So there are those who will come by regularly and talk. And but a lot of people just come by once, talk about whatever they're interested in, and then never see them again. I think what motivates me to keep coming back is I do believe that God has called me to do this. And I think when God calls you, He not only gives you the ability to do it, but He gives you that drive to continue to do it. Plus, there is a heaven and a hell, and we got to choose one of those two paths. And I think that a lot of students aren't really concerned about that, and trying to get them to see that there's more to life than just what the secular culture might tell them. And it's very important that they find the real God and walk down the right path to heaven and avoid the path to hell. What I think is the problem with students is that they've adopted ideas that keep them from finding God. The most important one is they've adopted the idea that you cannot know who God is. So it's not like the students are atheists. They just don't believe you can know which religion is the right religion, which God is the right God. So once you believe that, and you believe you can't know what the right religion is, you're also going to believe you can't really know why we exist, what happens after death, how to prepare, exactly what the right morals are. So starting with that one belief, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot and keep themselves from knowing anything of true value. And they become very secularized, just focusing in on, this world. Or this world is a very short period of time. And, they ought to be preparing themselves for the next world, but their belief system keeps them from that. A lot of people probably don't know that when I was in college and before college, I did a lot of partying, a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs. Actually, had long hair, red bandana, a beard, kind of did the hippie thing for a long time. And didn't really come out of that until I found God. And God is what brought me out of that. I didn't really have direction in life, didn't know what life was about, didn't think that just working 9 to 5 could be what life was about. And, back in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of talk about how drugs could open your mind. And so I tried it and it didn't work, but still stayed with it for a long time just because it was fun. And finally, kind of came out of it when I found God. So when I, preach against things like drunkenness and premarital sex and drugs and so on, it's not all solely theoretical. You know, I've experienced all of it and know the self-destructive aspects of it. My message for the students would be that these ideas that you've adopted from the culture, especially that you cannot know God, ask yourself, do I really know that I can't know God? Or know who God is? Is that something I know, or is that something I've just adopted from the culture? And I think you'll find that it's something you just adopted from the culture. So what I suggest to people is, if they want to know who God is, to get up every morning and with all the heart that they can muster, ask God if He's indeed there, or if He indeed wants to make Himself known, to do that for you. And if you get to the place where you can do that, really do that with all your heart, then God will make Himself known to you. And there's nothing better that you can attain to in life.
Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life.
Christ is risen. Indeed, Christ is risen. Indeed, Christ